At 18, she trusted fate gifted to a rancher with 3 kids. What was hidden transformed everything. Brooklyn stood on the edge of her old life, the wind biting at her cheeks, and felt the weight of fate pressing down on her. Just days ago, she was a girl in a crowded household, navigating family financial struggles in a small Michigan town. Now, she was the gift from her relatives to Jack, a lonely rancher in rural Montana. She felt like a prize cow they were handing over to a stranger. But behind the trembling anxiety in her chest, a flicker of hope struggled to survive. As she stepped off the dusty pickup truck, Brooklyn was met with the vast expanse of rugged Montana land, sprawling under a sky the color of a freshly spilled inkpot. She took a deep breath, attempting to fill her lungs with possibility. But the chill that snaked through the air only brightened her insecurities. What was she to this family of 3 kids, still raw from losing their mother? Jack stood nearby, rugged and worn, yet the sadness in his eyes conveyed a longing for what once was, and a burden for what was yet to come. Ella, Noah, and Lily stood huddled together, their expressions a mix of curiosity and resentment. Brooklyn's heart raced, echoing the city's bustle she had just left. Every move she made felt like an intrusion into their sacred space, a painful reminder of their mother's absence. She was a newcomer moving into an old wound, and it stung. Still, the ranch called to her. The cows lowed, the winds whispered secrets in the grass, and the land felt alive. On her first day, Brooklyn fumbled to feed the animals, dropping hay and laughing nervously as the cows nudged her, hungry and expectant. The laughter felt good, like a glimmer of connection, but the kids barely noticed, they were still tangled up in their grief. Why don't they see me? She thought bitterly. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days passed, Brooklyn found herself rising before dawn, the weight of the world pressing down on her heart. She helped mend fences, planted seeds, and carved her name into the very soil of that ranch. It was hard, rewarding work, and slowly the earthy aroma of the land began to weave into her very being. Yet the storm clouds loomed, metaphorically and literally, as winter crept in, chilling the air and hearts alike. One fateful evening, a blizzard swept in, encasing the ranch in white despair. Jack fought to keep things afloat, worry etched deep into his wearied face. Brooklyn could feel the financial burden pressing on his shoulders heavier than the snow outside. She bonded with the children as best as she could, but the gulf of loss between them remained vast. Then, amidst the howling wind, she felt the emotional tempest convulsing within the family. The storms they faced were not only in the weather, they were in their hearts. Ella's anger simmered, and Lily's silent sadness broke Brooklyn's heart. Every smile frozen, every laugh stilled. She needed to confront Ella. "You're angry at me, but I'm just trying to be here for you, for all of you." It spilled out, and suddenly the grueling year packed into their frail bodies erupted. What if they could trust each other? In the silence that followed, Brooklyn felt the threads of their stories intertwining: heritage, courage, love lost and yet surviving. Would Ella and Noah let her in? Would Jack allow the warmth of the budding connection to thaw his grief-bound heart? As the storm raged outside, Brooklyn realized she stood at a crossroads. Would they open their hearts to one another, or would the unforgiving winter seal their fates permanently? Hope gnawed at her, but at what cost would healing come? The answer lay buried in the snow, waiting to be uncovered. The next morning, Brooklyn awoke to an eerie silence. The relentless winds had calmed, leaving the world outside draped in a thick, white stillness. She pushed back her blankets, her breath visible in the chill air. The blizzard had transformed the ranch into a snow-laden wonderland, but as she stared out the frosted window, anxiety coiled in her stomach. Last night's confrontation with Ella echoed in her mind. The heat of their words had left her feeling raw and exposed. Had she overstepped? Would it push them further away? Brooklyn dressed quickly, the cold air biting her skin, and stepped outside into the untouched snow. Each crunch under her boots felt like a small battle, her own heartbeat synchronizing with the rhythm of the moment. She decided to take action, to warm the atmosphere. Brooklyn trudged through the thick blanket of white toward the barn, dragging a sled behind her. It felt childish, exhilarating even, but the mission behind it was serious. She gathered armfuls of hay, bundled it high, and loaded it onto the sled. Determination fueled her. She wanted to make everyone breakfast a simple gesture, but one laced with hope. As she worked, memories of her mother's cooking rushed back. The warmth, the aromas wafting in from the kitchen, the laughter across the table. Brooklyn closed her eyes and took a deep breath, imagining bringing that same comfort to Jack and the kids. She urged herself forward, convinced that if she filled their stomachs, she could start to mend some fractured hearts. After unloading the sled, she found the kids huddled near the fireplace in the house. They looked up as she entered, their expressions a blend of curiosity and wariness. She laid the food out on the table, homemade biscuits glistening with melted butter, fresh jam made from the last of last summer's berries, and a hot pot of cocoa, swirling steam curling from the top. Breakfast. Brooklyn announced brightly, trying to inject enthusiasm into the room. There was a moment of silence before Ella eyed the spread, her skepticism softened by the aroma wafting through the air. "Wow, that smells good," Noah admitted, surprise breaking across his face. "Just trying to lighten things up a bit," Brooklyn said, feeling a flicker of relief. They gathered around the table, the heat of the moment driving away a little of the cold from last night's confrontation. Brooklyn served them, her heart racing as she searched their faces for signs of acceptance. Jack entered, his expression weary but grateful as he took in the scene. "Looks like I missed a party," he said with a wry smile, joining them at the table. Brooklyn felt a rush of pride. She sat down, joining the circle. As they shared the meal, the tension began to thaw, laughter bubbling up here and there, Ella's anger dissipating into shy smiles. Brooklyn saw how simple acts could weave threads into the fabric of their new connection. But amid the laughter, Brooklyn's heart fluttered with uncertainty. She still felt like an outsider, a blade of grass in a field of enduring memories. Ella caught her eye, and their gazes locked for a fleeting moment, laden with unspoken questions. Could Ella welcome her past the wall she'd built? Could they truly become a family again? After breakfast, the kids gathered to help with chores, but Brooklyn felt a strong urge to pull Ella aside before the moment slipped away. "Can we talk?" she asked gently. The world outside felt infinite, but for the two of them, that might be just a small step towards something much bigger. The weight of what was unspoken lingered in the air like cold before a storm. In that moment, Brooklyn sensed that they could be on the verge of something important, something that could transform not just their days on the ranch but the very fabric of their lives. Little did she know, deep within the snow-covered landscape lay secrets waiting to be uncovered, secrets that could tear them apart or bind them closer than ever. What would emerge from those depths, threatening their meager connection, as winter tightened its grip once more? The weight of Brooklyn's words hung thick in the air. She felt Ella's hesitation, the shift in the girl's expression like a tightening knot in her own stomach. Ella glanced at the door, then back at Brooklyn, her small frame tense. "Okay," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let us talk." Brooklyn led Ella outside, away from the warmth of the house. The chill nipped at their cheeks, but it felt good, a clear contrast to the heaviness they had left behind. They trudged towards a snow-covered fence, the world glittering under the bright winter sun. The beauty around them felt surreal, yet it underscored the seriousness of their conversation. "I wanted to apologize," Brooklyn began, her heart racing. "For last night. I didn't mean to overstep." The words tumbled out as her nerves began to unravel. I care, Ella. I really do." Ella shifted her weight, her eyes darting as she processed Brooklyn's apology. Brooklyn could see the inner turmoil. There was still a wall up, built high and thick over months, maybe even years. The girl was dealing with loss and trust, and Brooklyn wasn't sure if she had the power to break through. "It's not just you," Ella finally replied, her voice hesitant. "It's everything." "I know things have changed," Brooklyn acknowledged softly. "I know how hard it must be to let someone new in." Ella's gaze fell to the snow beneath her boots, and Brooklyn wished she could see the thoughts racing behind her eyes. What fear did Ella hold? What memories still haunted her? She wanted so badly to offer comfort, yet she felt like she was hurling herself against a locked door. "I miss my mom," Ella said, her voice fraught with sadness. "And sometimes it feels like you're trying to take her place." Brooklyn's heart ached at her words. She hadn't thought about it that way, hadn't wanted to replace anyone. "Ella, I am not trying to take her place. I just want you to know I'm here for you. Just as much as Jack and Noah, you're a part of this family now. I want us to find a way to connect." Ella paused, biting her lip. Brooklyn held her breath, desperate for a hint of reassurance. After a long moment, the girl lifted her chin, meeting her gaze. "Maybe we can try." Brooklyn felt warmth spread through her chest. "Yes. I'd really like that." Tentative hope bloomed in Brooklyn's heart. They didn't have to figure everything out right now. They could take small, cautious steps. "Let us go help with the chores," Ella proposed, her earlier wariness easing ever so slightly. Brooklyn smiled, relieved. They turned back towards the barn, some tension lifted from their shoulders. As they walked, an unexpected sight caught Brooklyn's eye. Just beyond the tree line, something tumultuous moved beneath the snow. A dark figure shifted in the white blanket, causing her to squint. She strained to see what it was, feeling a surge of curiosity and apprehension. "What's that?" she murmured, pointing in the direction. Ella's brow furrowed in confusion, and then it hit her a spark of dread twisted in the pit of her stomach. "Should we look?" The girl's voice was hesitant now, uncertainty creeping back in. Brooklyn felt it too, the sudden chill of something ominous lurking below the surface. There was a glimmer of something hidden beneath the snow, pulling at them with unseen tendrils. "Maybe we should," Brooklyn said, trying to maintain her composure. "It could be something important." As they approached, the world around them shifted again. The tension between them tightened, shadowed by the mystery of the unknown ahead. Both girls felt the resonance of something larger than their own confrontation. What lay ahead could challenge everything they were beginning to build together. And just as they neared the figure, the ground gave a warning tremor. Brooklyn's heart raced. What would they uncover beneath the blanket of snow? What secrets would it divulge? As Brooklyn and Ella stepped closer to the dark figure half buried in the snow, the cold air wrapped around them like a dense fog, making each breath feel heavy. Ella's small hand grasped tighter to the sleeve of Brooklyn's coat, a reflex of both anxiety and an unspoken need for reassurance. "Are you sure we should?" Ella whispered, her voice wavering as the shadows under the snow became more defined. Brooklyn hesitated, the thrill of discovery battling with the uncertainty curling in her stomach. "It could be something left behind, something that needs to be found," Brooklyn replied, sounding more confident than she felt. The curiosity gnawed at her, almost insatiable, while the shiver of dread nestled deeper into both their bones. Together, they knelt down, brushed away the glistening layer of snow, and the world seemed to fall into a hushed silence. The muffled sounds of their breathing were the only company in this moment as they unearthed what was hidden. Brooklyn's heart thudded in her ears when they revealed an old, battered trunk. Its rusty hinges were frozen in time, waiting for someone to unlock the secrets held inside. The wood was splintered and darkened over years, but a faint hope ignited in Brooklyn's chest. Could it be something of value? Something that could bridge the gap between Ella and her? "Should we open it?" Ella asked, her curiosity tinged with fear. Brooklyn looked at her, searching for encouragement in the girl's eyes. "I think we should. Together." With a collective breath, they took hold of the lid. Both girls pulled. The trunk creaked open, and the smell of cold, stale air wafted out, mixing with their breaths. Inside lay an array of old photographs, letters, and trinkets wrapped in faded cloth. Brooklyn pulled out a photo, wiping the dust away to reveal the worn image. Her heart skipped a beat when she recognized a familiar face, a younger woman holding a baby, joy radiating from her smile. "Is that your mom?" she asked softly, handing the picture to Ella. Ella's eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and longing passing over her features. "I thought I lost all of those," she breathed, trembling with emotions. "I didn't know this is my mom when I was little." Brooklyn felt tears prick her eyes as she watched the flicker of realization change Ella's expression. It was like unearthing a lost piece of her past, a bridge that could connect them in a way nothing else could. As Ella sifted through the trunk and discovered more remnants of her life, a locket, a ticket stub from the fair, and letters filled with love, Brooklyn saw a transformation. The barrier that had once seemed insurmountable was beginning to crack. "Why would this be here?" Ella murmured, holding a letter delicately, as if it were made of the finest glass. "I don't know," Brooklyn replied, her voice steady in the face of the unknown. "But maybe it was meant for you to find it, maybe it's part of remembering who she was." Tears glistened in Ella's eyes as she found words lodged in her throat. "I miss her, sometimes I just want to hear her voice again," she whispered, a vulnerable crack in her brave facade. Brooklyn reached out, placing her hand on Ella's shoulder. "You'll always have her in here," she said, motioning to Ella's heart. "And I'm here now. You won't have to go through this alone." But just as they were about to delve deeper into the trunk, a sudden howl of wind cut through the air, rattling branches above them. A cloud of snow whipped up, and Brooklyn felt a jolt of fear shoot through her. The world around them seemed to shift, revealing shadows creeping along the tree line. "What was that?" Ella asked, backing away from the trunk. Brooklyn turned, her heart pounding as a sense of urgency flooded her. "I don't know, but we need to go. Now." They scrambled to their feet, the trunk forgotten as they hurried towards the house. The treasures inside could wait. Right now, they needed safety from the dark whispers of the forest that felt all too close. With every step, Brooklyn felt the weight of the moment, the conversation they'd just begun and the new bond they might forge precariously on the edge of something unknown. But as they reached the porch, Brooklyn looked back one last time, the images of the trunk etched in her mind. What else was hidden beneath the surface? What pieces of Ella's past were still waiting to be discovered? Little did they know, the echoes they heard wouldn't be the last of the mysteries unfolding around them. And still, lingering in the air, the question remained: what would it take for them to face the shadows creeping closer together? Brooklyn and Ella reached the porch, breathless and scared. The crunch of snow beneath their hurried steps muffled the hushed secrets they had shared moments before, now washed away by a wave of urgency. Brooklyn kept her gaze fixed towards the tree line, heart thumping loudly like a war drum in her chest. "Did you see that?" Ella's voice trembled, still clutching the locket she'd found. The little treasure hung in her fingers, the cool metal a reminder of happier times, but now it felt heavy, weighing her down with uncertainty. "Whatever it was, it's probably just the wind," Brooklyn reassured, though she felt a shiver race down her spine. Yet a small part of her wondered if it was more than just wind, if it carried something sinister within it. They stepped inside the warmth of the cabin, shutting the door behind them with a heavy thud. The cozy wood-paneled walls stood in stark contrast to the icy wilderness outside. Brooklyn kicked the snow off her boots, and it scattered across the floor, a stark reminder of the world they had just left. Ella stood still, staring at the trunk they had uncovered, now resting outside beneath a fresh layer of snow. "What do you think we should do with it?" she asked, her voice small and fragile. "Maybe we should go back later," Brooklyn suggested, a wave of protectiveness swelling inside her. "We can figure this out together." But Ella shook her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What if it's not safe? What if whatever we found is meant to stay lost?" Brooklyn wanted to comfort her, but couldn't shake the feeling that Ella's words held a deeper truth. "Maybe," Maybe it was meant to lead to something, she replied, uncertainty flickering in her chest. The trunk had awakened memories for Ella, fragile and raw, and part of Brooklyn feared that digging deeper might only unearth something painful. Just then, a loud thud echoed from outside, jolting them both. Brooklyn exchanged a worried glance with Ella. What was that? Ella's face paled. It must be the wind. Right? Let's just check it out, Brooklyn said, trying to muster courage. They opened the door a crack, peering cautiously into the gathering dusk. The trees loomed, taller and darker now, and a shape moved just beyond the reach of light, the shadows mingling unnaturally. Brooklyn's heart raced. We can't stay here forever, she murmured. Brooklyn, I don't want to go back outside, Ella whispered, her voice quivering. Gathering her resolve, Brooklyn reached out to take Ella's hand. We're in this together. Whatever's lurking out there, we can face it. As they stepped outside, they heard a soft, sorrowful call echo through the chilling air. The howl seemed to twist and weave through the trees, tugging at the very edges of their hearts. Brooklyn looked over her shoulder, suddenly feeling the weight of the past pressing down like a snowstorm, ignoring the flicker of fear in her gut. Maybe we should really find out what's in that trunk, Ella suggested, biting her lip, her earlier resolve morphing into silent curiosity. Brooklyn hesitated but knew Ella was right. That trunk bore the key to Ella's past, and it was time to unearth more. Let's just get what we need and then we can come back tomorrow, when it's light. They slowly made their way back towards the trunk, but as the shadows crossed their path, Brooklyn couldn't shake the feeling that something awaited them. Just as they reached the tree line, a chilling wind whipped around them, dislodging branches and sending a flurry of snow swirling. Whispering calls seemed to surround them, a warning. A beckoning. Let's hurry, Brooklyn urged, feeling the urgency crawl under her skin. And just as they rounded the last tree, something caught Brooklyn's eye, a glint within the snow, unlike the rest. An object, half buried, gleamed back at her. What is that? Ella asked, taking a cautious step closer. Brooklyn's breath caught in her throat. What if that was the key to understanding not just Ella's mother, but whatever menacing presence seemed to watch them from the shadows? She could feel it then, a pull. Deeper than curiosity, a whisper of fate urging them forward. As they knelt to investigate, the snow shifted once more around them, and a dark figure loomed just beyond the trees, watching. Brooklyn! Ella squeaked, tugging her arm. What was lurking in the depths of their hometown? The shadows felt closer than before, and the night was far from over. What secrets awaited them in the darkness? The glint in the snow shone brighter as Brooklyn leaned closer, but an overwhelming sense of dread twisted in her stomach. She could feel Ella's breath beside her, quick and anxious. The dark figure lingered just out of sight, shifting, but in the cold night air, they were suspended between curiosity and fear. Brooklyn, we shouldn't be out here, Ella whispered, gripping Brooklyn's arm tighter. The locket dangled awkwardly from Ella's fingers, catching what little evening light filtered through the trees. It felt like fate, or perhaps folly, pushing them towards the unknown. Just a second, Brooklyn urged, her voice steadier than she felt. She reached for the object, brushing snow aside with trembling fingers. Finally, it slipped free, revealing a silver pocket watch, ornate with intricate engravings. It might have been beautiful in another context, but here it felt cursed. Wow, Ella breathed, her eyes wide in wonder mingled with worry. Where did it come from? Before Brooklyn could answer, the whispering wind returned, wrapping around them, urging them to flee or reveal whatever lay hidden beneath the pall of night. Suddenly, the dark figure stepped into view, a silhouette outlined against the dim light of the cabin. Brooklyn's heart pounded like a second drum in her chest as she instinctively stepped in front of Ella. Who's there? She called out, her voice surprisingly firm. The figure paused, the shadows clinging to them like a second skin. Just a friend, the voice emerged, gravelly and low, sending chills racing down Brooklyn's spine. No need to be alarmed. Friend? Ella echoed, glancing nervously at Brooklyn. What do you want? It's not what I want, it's what you need to know, the figure replied, stepping closer into the moonlight. It was an older man, his face weathered, but there was something familiar about him, though Brooklyn couldn't place it. You know us?" Brooklyn stammered, the pocket watch slipping slightly from her grasp. "More than you think, Brooklyn," he said, his eyes piercing through the shadows, locking onto hers. "And more than she knows." He gestured toward Ella, a knowing glint in his gaze. "What do you mean?" Ella took a step back, her earlier worry morphing into confusion. "Ella, don't!" Brooklyn commanded, feeling a protective surge as she noticed the way the man's focus shifted while he addressed her friend. But the man raised a hand, settling the tension in the air slightly. "When the time comes, you'll understand. You may have unearthed something that connects you both to a past you've only just begun to uncover." Brooklyn felt the weight of his words crash over her. "What do you know about the trunk? Or about Ella's mother?" His eyes softened, as though Brooklyn's fuel of courage reached him despite imposing shadows. "The trunk holds fragments of what has long been hidden. Secrets that bind legacies and lay groundwork for futures yet to unfold." Ella shifted nervously beside Brooklyn. "Please, just tell us," she implored. "We have to know." "There's more at stake here than you realize," the man replied, stepping back slightly, as if he physically felt the weight of the night's air pressing down. The wind howled again, drowning their fears in icy breath. Brooklyn looked again at the watch in her hand, its ticking now echoing in the silence around them, as if counting down to something inevitable. "Wait!" she shouted as the man turned to leave into the darkness. "We need your help." "What does it mean?" But he only paused, not turning back completely. "Your answers lie in the light, but be warned, some truths cannot be unlearned." And with that, he vanished into the trees, as if he had never been there, leaving Brooklyn and Ella hushed in a suffocating stillness. "What now?" Brooklyn whispered, gripping the pocket watch tightly, as a growing confusion swirled in her heart. What could the man's vague hints mean? What if they were meant to face even deeper shadows than the ones lurking in the woods? Ella looked around, her face pale. "We have to go back to the trunk. It has to be connected to everything. Right?" Brooklyn nodded. Fear and determination battling within her. Whatever threads of their past were tangled together would need unraveling. So many questions lingered in the air, unanswered. As they stepped back toward that clearing, another howl sliced through the trees, more urgent this time. A reminder that they were not alone in this dark, twisting tale. "Brooklyn," Ella whispered, her voice quaking as they approached. "What if we're already in over our heads?" "We find out together," Brooklyn replied, her heart racing. But deep down, an unsettling thought whispered back, what if this was just the beginning of something they were not prepared to face? Brooklyn took a deep breath, steadying herself as she and Ella reached the edge of the clearing. The cabin loomed ahead, surrounded by the whispering trees, their branches skeletal against the darkened sky. The sight of the trunk, now mere feet away, loomed in her mind like an unresolved riddle. "Okay, let us just look at it." Brooklyn's hands trembled, still clutching the pocket watch tightly, the ticking an unsettling reminder that time was slipping away. "No. Wait," Ella grabbed Brooklyn's arm, halting her steps. "What if we shouldn't? What if we're tempting fate?" Her voice quivered, breaking the stillness like a fragile glass. Brooklyn's heart sank. She knew Ella was scared, but the urgency pulled at her. "We'll never know until we try," she said, louder than her own fears. She could feel the weight of the night pressing down, a silent challenge daring them to turn back. With a hesitant nod from Ella, they approached the trunk, its aged wood darkened by exposure and mystery. Brooklyn knelt, brushing the snow away, revealing the carvings that decorated the surface. They were intricate, almost alive, swirling in patterns she couldn't comprehend but felt strangely drawn to. "Do you think it's locked?" Ella asked, peering over Brooklyn's shoulder, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, but I'll find out." Brooklyn's fingers searched for a latch, a lock, anything that would grant them entry into this forgotten world, with a soft click that echoed loudly in the stillness, the lid of the trunk creaked open, and both girls gasped as a gust of stale air wafted up toward them, tinged with the scent of history and memory. Inside lay a jumble of papers, photographs, and trinkets, all woven together by threads of time. Ella let out a soft squeak of surprise, and Brooklyn couldn't help but smile, needing that spark of wonder amidst the anxiety. "Look at this!" Ella exclaimed, pulling out an old photograph. It was a faded picture of a woman, standing in front of a house Brooklyn didn't recognize. "This is she looks just like my mom." Brooklyn leaned in, her heart hammering. The woman had dark hair just like Ella's. But how? This doesn't make sense. Ella flipped the picture over. A message, scrawled in shaky handwriting, caught their eyes. "To my dearest Ella, may you always find your way back to the light." "We have to know who this is," Brooklyn said, her heart racing. Each discovery felt like another thread tugging on their consciousness, weaving an intricate tapestry that tied their lives together in ways they never imagined. But as they continued to sift through the trunk, cold claws of unease tightened around Brooklyn's throat. She paused, her gaze drifting to the pocket watch in her hand. What if the man was right? What if uncovering these truths unspooled something dark within them? Ella's voice snapped her back. "There's something else tucked in here." Brooklyn glanced over, noticing a leather-bound journal, its edges frayed from age. The weight of the moment settled heavy on her chest. What secrets lay within those pages? Would they bring answers, or more questions? With trembling hands, Ella opened the journal, revealing neat yet frantic handwriting that screamed of urgency. It must not be forgotten. The past has a way of snaring the future. The tension thickened, a grip on their hearts that wouldn't loosen. Brooklyn felt alive with both excitement and fear. "Do we keep reading?" Before Ella could respond, a rustle echoed from the trees. The girls froze, instincts flaring as a chill danced up Brooklyn's spine. Something was out there, and it was watching them. What if the man was wrong about unearthing the truth? Brooklyn whispered, dread spreading through her like ice. What if we've just opened a door we can't close? Ella's eyes widened, a thought shadowing her face. And what if whatever's out there is connected to this? Brooklyn couldn't shake the feeling. They were standing on a precipice, the darkness lurking beyond the trees calling their names. Their next steps would alter everything they thought they knew. With a half-fearful, half-determined glance at Ella, she asked, "Are you ready for whatever comes next?" But before either could answer, a low growl echoed through the night, sending both girls reeling back into the shadows, terror and determination intertwining as they braced for the unknown that loomed ahead. The growl reverberated through the clearing, a primal sound that made Brooklyn's heart race. Ella's grip on her arm tightened. The world felt sharper, every branch and whisper of wind amplifying their fear. They exchanged terrified glances, unsure if they should stand their ground or flee into the safety of the darkness. "Should we run?" Ella whispered, her voice trembling. Brooklyn's throat was dry, but she forced the words out. "We can't. Not yet. We don't know what it is." Just then, the growling stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. It was almost worse, like the air itself was waiting watching. Ella's eyes darted to the trunk, then back to Brooklyn. "What if it's been protecting this? What if it's angry we disturbed it?" Brooklyn inhaled deeply, grounding herself. They were not children anymore. They had a chance to uncover something real, something that could reshape their understanding of everything. "If we're going to find out the truth, we have to be brave. Together." With that, Brooklyn stepped forward. Ella hesitated but followed, a silent oath binding them as they stood side by side. Brooklyn turned her attention back to the trunk, the leather journal still open on her lap. The words on the pages glared up at her, beckoning for attention. She read aloud, each word laced with a growing weight of peril. "The past has a way of snaring the future." Brooklyn paused, the hairs on the back of her neck prickling. "It sounds like a warning, doesn't it?" "Maybe it is," Ella replied. "But maybe it's also a clue. If this journal connects to your family, my family, We owe it to ourselves to understand it. No matter what. As they continued to read, the words started to swirl in a dance of sentences that felt both intimate and daunting, shadows of past lives, deep regrets, and hidden truths. Ella leaned closer, her breath hitching as she found another passage. If you unveil the past, you might awaken what sleeps. What does that mean? Brooklyn chewed her lip, fear inked with curiosity. Maybe whatever's out there, maybe it's the key. Suddenly, the sound of twigs snapping yanked them from their thoughts. They both spun around, hearts pounding, eyes wide with terror. Out of the darkness, a figure emerged, slipping between the trees, its eyes shimmering in the moonlight. Brooklyn's breath caught in her throat, the moment suspended in time. Who goes there? She called out, her voice firmer than she felt. The figure stopped, a silhouette against the fading light. It took a moment for the shape to resolve into something recognizable, a young man, straining against the shadows, a worried frown on his face. Are you two all right? I heard something out here. Ella blinked, relief flooding her voice. We thought. Brooklyn cut her off, mind racing with possibilities. What are you doing here? What did you hear? He hesitated, glancing towards the trees as if he understood something they did not. There's something about this place. I've come here before, but tonight feels different. Something's off. Brooklyn exchanged a glance with Ella, the unspoken understanding blazing between them. Do you know anything about this trunk? His expression shifted, revealing a mix of fear and recognition. More than you know. It's a gateway. The word hung heavily in the air, amplifying the tension. Brooklyn felt the weight of destiny resting on her shoulders. They had stepped beyond a threshold, and there was no turning back now. What do you mean? Brooklyn demanded. I mean, he hesitated, as if choosing his next words carefully. It leads to a truth nobody is prepared to face. The night grew colder, and with each heartbeat, the stakes seemed unfurling before them, pulling them into uncertainty. They needed answers, but what if those answers carried a darkness they weren't ready to confront? And as Brooklyn prepared to demand more, the growl echoed again, deeper now, closer. Their fate was entwined with every hidden truth wrapped in this forest, and whatever awaited them might change everything. Are you with us? Brooklyn charged, feeling the weight of the past pressing down. Would they have the courage to face what was coming? Ella nodded resolutely, though fear danced in her eyes. Together. But as the shadows thickened, the truth loomed just beyond their reach, whispering promises of revelation or ruin. They were on the edge of discovery, but how deep would they have to plunge into darkness to find the light? Before their feet could move, another growl shattered the stillness, echoing their rising dread. It was time to discover what lay hidden in the shadows, and they had no idea what awaited them. The ground trembled slightly beneath them, and Brooklyn felt her pulse quicken. The young man shifted nervously, his eyes darting between the trees, searching for the source of the growl. What's out there? Ella whispered, her voice barely above a breath. The boy took a moment to gather himself, his expression grave. This forest has its secrets. The trunk, the journal, it's a part of it. And whatever that is, he pointed into the darkness, isn't just a creature guarding its territory. It's something more. Brooklyn's thoughts raced as she pulled Ella closer to her side. What do you mean by something more? Legends, a curse, perhaps. They say those who disturb the trunk awaken the guardian. It's tied to deep magic, a binding that's been there for generations. His voice dropped, almost in reverence. People disappear in these woods, you know. And the last time I was here, things didn't feel right. A tension hung in the air, thick as fog, as Brooklyn processed his words. They had come seeking answers, but now it felt like they were stepping into a story far bigger than themselves. Maybe we should leave, Ella urged, her voice shaky, echoing Brooklyn's own thoughts. No, Brooklyn replied, her heart thumping loudly in her chest. We can't run away now. Not when we're so close. We need to find out what it means for us. You have no idea what you're asking for, the young man replied, his voice rising with urgency. There's power in the past, but there's danger too. If we're not careful, we could drag something terrible into our lives. As the last of his words faded, a growl rippled through the air again, more menacing this time. It sent icy fingers of fear down Brooklyn's spine, but she squared her shoulders. We can face it. We have to. Together. With a reluctant nod, the boy stepped forward, leading them towards the gnarled trunk. Each step felt heavy, the atmosphere buzzing with an electric charge. Shadows danced around them, the forest seemed to watch. Ella clutched Brooklyn's hand tightly, and Brooklyn could feel the tension radiating between them. The young man knelt before the trunk, moving cautiously as he examined the swirling carvings etched into its bark. "This is where it all begins," he murmured, tracing a finger over one of the markings. "The stories, the truths, they start here." Brooklyn leaned in, peering at the intricate designs. "What does it say?" "Those who enter may find both light and darkness, but the choice will be yours alone to make." He looked up, fear shadowing his face. "We're either destined to reveal something incredible or awaken something that should remain asleep." As he spoke, the forest's ambience shifted. The soft rustling of leaves was drowned by an overwhelming silence, almost suffocating. Brooklyn could feel the energy around them crackle and pulse, making her skin tingle. "Is that why it's growling?" Ella whispered, her face pale. "To warn us?" "Maybe," Brooklyn replied, inching closer to the trunk. "Or maybe it's a challenge." Just as Brooklyn reached out to touch the rough bark, another growl, deeper and louder, erupted from the shadows. It felt like the trees themselves shuddered in response. "Back away!" the boy shouted, grabbing Ella and Brooklyn by the shoulders and pulling them back as something massive burst forth from the underbrush. Their hearts raced at the sight of the creature towering and fierce, with glowing eyes like lanterns in the dark. Brooklyn's instincts screamed at her to run, but something rooted her to the spot. It stood there, waiting, like a guardian of dreams or nightmares. "Now what?" Ella whispered, her voice trembling. A heavy silence lay upon them. They were at the edge, teetering on the brink of something unknown. Everything hung in the balance. A choice lay before them, waiting to be made. Would they unravel the truth of the past, even if it meant confronting the nightmare it birthed? Brooklyn felt the weight of every unspoken desire urging her forward. In that moment, she knew this was more than just an adventure, it was a destiny intertwined with their very souls. As the creature snarled, ready to defend its sacred ground, Brooklyn realized they would have to decide, face the truth before them or succumb to the fear that threatened to consume them all. Together she said softly to Ella, steeling herself for what was to come, but would the truth set them free, or trap them forever? Brooklyn stood firm, her heart racing, as the creature before them snarled. It was a beautiful, mighty beast, with a coat that glimmered like the stars against the night sky. But its eyes shone with purpose, a protector, fierce and unyielding. Ella grasped Brooklyn's hand tighter, her fear palpable. "What if it attacks?" she whispered, uncertainty seeping into her voice. Yet Brooklyn felt an odd sense of calm wash over her. It was as if the guardianship of the creature called to something deep within her. "We're not here to harm you," Brooklyn said, her voice steady in defiance of her swirling emotions. She took a step forward, holding her breath as the creature's gaze bore into her. "We just want to understand. We want to know what lies within that trunk." Her words echoed, infusing energy into the vibrant silence. The creature's ears perked up. It seemed to consider her words, its growls softening into a wary rumble. The young man looked back, his face still etched with concern. "You really think it understands you?" he murmured. "I don't know," Brooklyn replied, her attention unwavering. She felt an instinct drawing her closer, a magnetic force weaving through the night air. "But it's our only chance to uncover the truth." Ella stood beside her, uncertainty flickering in her eyes but a spark of hope igniting as she gazed at Brooklyn. "Okay. I trust you." Brooklyn nodded, appreciating Ella's courage. Together, they stepped closer, approaching the massive guardian who blocked their way. The creature lowered its massive head, appearing almost curious, as if it nodded, inviting them to continue. "Please," Brooklyn whispered, sensing the air around them shimmer with potential. "We're looking to understand Ella's mother's past. We want to uncover the secrets that were hidden." To Brooklyn's amazement, the creature slowly shifted, revealing the forest shrouded in mist that hung pregnant with stories and unsolved questions. It beckoned them forward, leading them deeper into the heart of the woods, reassured by its presence. With an unyielding resolve, Brooklyn took Ella's hand, and they followed behind, heartbeats aligned. As they moved deeper into the darkness, the trees tall and looming like wise sages, they stumbled upon a clearing gleaming with moonlight. A quiet warmth embraced them amid the cold. In the center lay another trunk, this one adorned with intricate carvings, blissfully untouched by the elements. "Is this?" Ella gasped, realization flooding her. "Is this what we've been searching for?" Brooklyn nodded, a sense of destiny echoing through her. "I think so." The creature remained vigilant nearby, watching protectively as Brooklyn knelt before the trunk. She swallowed the lump in her throat and reached for the latch, feeling the pulse of heritage thrumming in the air. As she opened it, nostalgia infused the air alongside the scent of her childhood. Inside lay more remnants of a life forgotten, old letters, trinkets, and photographs that breathed life into memories. Brooklyn pulled out a dusty photograph, a younger version of Ella's mother beaming with joy, surrounded by family. Yet just beside her, a shadowy figure she recognized from the stories her own mother had told her as a child, a connection that stretched beyond generations. "Ella, look!" Brooklyn exclaimed, emotion flooding over her. Ella's eyes widened as she slid closer. "That's her, but who is this other person?" The woman's eyes sparkled with mischief in the picture, but Brooklyn could sense something deeper, an unbroken lineage flowing through them. "I think she's linked to my family too," Brooklyn said quietly, realization dawning as the puzzle pieces started to connect. Ella looked at her, eyebrows furrowing, and Brooklyn could see the walls once built around Ella's grief begin to crack. "We were never meant to be alone in this." Tears brimmed in Ella's eyes as she traced the photograph with her fingertips, connecting to something far greater than herself. In that precious moment, Brooklyn felt the warmth of their stories intertwining. "We can embrace the past," she whispered, "and shape our future." As if sensing their transformation, the creature leaned closer, a soft light glowing within its eyes. Do you think it understands us?" Ella murmured, awe swimming in her voice. "I think it's reminding us that healing comes in knowing our roots," Brooklyn said, the conviction swelling in her chest. "The past may challenge us, but it also connects us." And as they shared a heartfelt glance, the creature gave a low rumble, as though affirming their journey. Brooklyn turned her attention back to the trunk, continuing to sift through the memories. Each item was a thread weaving their lives together, connecting loss, love, and resilience. Eventually, the sun's first light began to seep through the trees, illuminating the clearing with a gold hue, bridging the world of shadows they had been circled in. "Thank you," Brooklyn said to the creature, who stood as guardian and companion, ushering them gently back towards the path that would lead them home. The shadows of the past shrank in the light of day, revealing hope and strength in their bond, and Brooklyn sensed that this was the beginning of something extraordinary, a family forged not solely by blood but by understanding, love, and a journey that had just started. As they finally turned away from the trunk, they looked toward the dawn breaking softly across the sky. Uniting their stories meant uniting their hearts, and step by step, they paved the way for a brighter future together, and in that moment, Brooklyn knew what it felt like to belong in a world that was finally her own. Ella took a deep breath, heart swelling with gratitude. "We did this together." "Yes, we did," Brooklyn replied, her voice steady and filled with warmth as they stepped forward toward their new lives, together. "Now, it's your turn to support our journey and embrace your own. You need to subscribe now to the channel, unlocking exclusive stories and more transformations on this journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your love fuels our mission. Comment below, share how you felt about this ending, because your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who must see this transformation. Don't just watch, let us spread the love and lessons together. This is the moment to show your support. Thank you for being a part of our storytelling family.